Welcome to the VB Toolbox. In this tutorial I will be teaching you how to create and handle custom events in your application. We will begin by creating a new project and make sure you have Windows Forms application selected and give it a name. I'm just going to call this one My Events and click OK, and that will generate our project template. Let's go ahead and add a couple of controls to our form to help us test our event. I am going to add two command buttons. Go ahead and add one there, and you can copy and paste that or add another one from your toolbox. And I'm just going to set them side by side here. And what we will be doing is creating our own custom class with its own events, and we will handle those events from our main form, and I'll also show you to handle the events from within that class that we create as well. So I'm going to do this a few different ways. So select your first button and we'll change the caption text to draw object, and I'm going to change the name to CMD for command draw. And the second button we will use to actually fire our event. So I am going to name this button Raise Event. Okay, CMD Raise Event. And we'll change the caption text on that to test event. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just create a very simple class that will draw a rectangle to the screen. Our class will consist of a rectangle and some basic properties for that, a color and just a couple of other items. So let's go to our Solution Explorer, right click on our project header and select Add Class. And I'm just going to call my class My Object. And I'll select Add, and that will add a new class template. And from here, because we're going to be drawing, we're going to want access to our system.drawing library, the Windows GDI. So I'm going to come up here and say imports system.drawing. It just gives us a few extra tools for managing colors and things like that. Now we will add a few variables to help us define our class object. So I'm going to make these private, and first one I'm just going to call color, and I'm going to call that as a color. Okay, and next we'll need a surface area to draw on, which is going to be our main form. I'm going to draw directly on this. So I'm going to do private, and I'll just call this one surface as graphics. And what I'm going to do is pass the form's graphics object into this class so it has somewhere to draw to. And finally I am going to create private layout, which is going to be a rectangle which defines where our rectangle will draw and how big it will be. So just call that as a rectangle. And now we need a sub to set these properties when we first create a new instance of our class. So I'm going to do a public sub because I need to be able to access this new method from my main form. So do public sub new, and we're just going to throw in a few parameters to populate these variables that we created. So the first one will be our drawing surface. So I'm going to say surface as graphics. Next up, I want to specify a color of a rectangle to draw, so color as a color. And finally, the layout as a rectangle. Alright, so now we can define our object. by passing these parameters into the variables that we've established. So I'm going to say surface equals surface, and color equals color, and my layout equals layout. So I'm just passing those parameters directly into my variables to establish a brand new object here. Okay, now we're going to need a subroutine to actually do the drawing on our surface. So finally I'm going to create, a public sub called draw. It's pretty simple. No parameters there. And so now I just need to specify where I want to draw. So I'm going to say draw on the surface I've defined. And what I want to do is fill a rectangle with a color. So to do this, I'm going to create a new solid brush, and the color of that brush is just going to be pulled from my color variable. And the destination that I want to draw to is going to be my layout, referencing our layout variable. That's very simple. So now we should be able to draw this guy once we've defined it. So let's jump over to our main form and double click on our draw object button. And before we populate this, we want to create a new instance of our object class. So what I'm going to do is come up here in our class, and I will do a public with events. This with events will allow us to actually interact with the object's events after we create them. And we will do that in a moment. But let's just go ahead and define our object as, I'm just going to call mine cool object. As a new, that fires the new method that we created, my object. And we have to define our parameters that we've called, or that we've created here. So the first one is the drawing surface, and where we want to draw is on the main form. So I'm going to just say me, that references the main form from within itself, and call its create graphics method, and that gives us a graphics handle to draw to. And now we need to select a color for our initial object. So let's see, I'm just going to pick blue, and finally we need a layout as a rectangle. So what we're going to do is just create a brand new rectangle. I'm just going to say new rectangle, and the first two properties of the rectangle are the location. So I'm just going to draw 10 pixels in from the left, and actually I'm going to do, because we have our buttons there, I'll just do 40 pixels from the left and 40 pixels down from the top. And the next two properties are going to be the width and height. So how big do you want your rectangle to be? Well, I'm going to make it 100 by 100 pixels. Alright, so now we've created a cool object with events, and now we can test this object, test our draw method, and just see if it works by going to our command draw.click event, and here we'll just say cool object.draw. Okay. Now keep in mind, this is not a custom event. This is just the event for our command button. So I'm going to run that, and I will click the draw object, and my object has been drawn to the screen. Now, what if I wanted to automatically trigger an event to occur if I change the color of this? What I'm going to do is jump back into my object and define an event and raise that event when the color is changed. And to do this, I'm going to come up here below my variables, and I'm going to create an event, and it's going to be public. And I'm just going to call this event color changed. because I want to automatically trigger this. Events give us sort of a passive means. They can be active as well, but they give us sort of a passive means of making something occur in our application when some threshold has been crossed. So what I'm going to do is define my event as a color. And you'll notice that a lot of events, like in our main form, they also have the sender. You could add that as well if you wanted to actually return the object itself in this, and you can perform additional commands based on the sender. But just to keep this simple, I'm going to only grab our event arguments here. So now that we've created an event, we need a way to raise that event, to make it fire. So what I'm going to do is add a public property. Notice how this guy's private up here. We can't change the color from the main form because this is private. It can't interact with its private properties here. So what I'm going to do is say public property color. I'm going to use an uppercase C on that. And if you hit enter, nothing really happens here. It's conflicting with this color. But if you just type in set and hit enter, it will generate this whole statement for you, the set and get. So when someone sets the value of the color from the main form, we want it to populate this private event. We can't interact with it directly from our main form, but we can interact with it through this public property. So I'm going to say color equals whatever value we pass in from the outside. And if they use the get, we'll just say return the color. All right, now it's happy. So if someone sets this, how do we execute this event? Well, what we'll do is we'll come down here, and after it changes the color, it's going to raise the event. And the event we want to raise is color changed, and we have to specify that parameter. So we don't want to capture a specific color unless you wanted to, I guess. If you wanted it to only fire if it was changed to red, or to return, I'm sorry. You don't want it to return just any color. You want it to return the color that we've established in this variable. So we'll just say color. And now that event should be raised. But how do we know that it's been raised? Well, we can go back to our main form, and just like you see this private sub that was automatically generated when we double clicked on our button, we can do that now for my object. So if we come down here, we can say private sub cool object underscore color changed, and you can kind of, Microsoft sort of recommends that you adhere to this standard when creating your events, but you can change this if you want. So this has to have the exact same signature as the event, and by that what I mean is that it has to have the same parameters and properties as the event that we've created. So we have to specify E as color. And once we've done that, we add this handles to create our event handler. And if we go down to our cool object, you'll notice that it has pulled in the event that we created. So we can just hit that and it will automatically generate. And what we could do is raise a message box or something. We'll just do message box. I see you like the color. Close our string, and we want to return the color from the parameter, so we're going to say E dot name, and it'll return the name of the color. Close that with a period. And so now if our color changes, using this public property, it'll raise this event, and if it works correctly, then it should execute this message box automatically. So we can go back to our main form and double click our test event, and we'll just try executing a color change on coolObject. So we'll say coolObject.color equals color dot, and pick another color. Do chartreuse here. So let's execute this color change and see if that will fire our message box. And draw my box here. It's blue. Test event. I see you like the color chartreuse. So the event fired successfully, but you'll notice that it didn't update the image here. Let's see what happens if we throw in call its draw method to redraw the new color. Look at that. So it did update properly. We just had to redraw it when we were done. What if we wanted to manage that automatically from within the class, make it redraw itself? Well, we can actually create event handlers inside of our class. So let's go ahead and get rid of that extra draw there. And we'll jump back into my object and go to our new sub again. And we will add an event handler so the class can communicate with itself automatically. Actually, before we do that, we're going to need something to execute. So I'm going to jump down here real quick and add another sub, private sub, updated color. Alright, and here we can just call our draw method. Okay, so what we're going to experiment with here is adding an event handler that automatically executes this. Now, of course, we could just call the draw if we wanted, but I want to show you how your AddHandler can call on an extra sub within the class. So what we'll do here is we'll say AddHandler, and we have to first specify the event that we want to raise, and that's going to be color changed. Oops. I hope if I actually typed it correctly. And you add a comma here, and now what we will do is tell it what to do when that event is raised. I'll say address of, to specify the address of a sub, which will be updated color. So if this executes properly, it should automatically refresh itself based on this sub that we've launched with our event. So let's go ahead and launch our app here. We'll draw the object and test the event. I see you like the color chartreuse, and you notice that it's already updated. So our event within our class is firing properly, as well as the event on our main form. So now, what if we wanted to sorry, getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to go ahead and comment out this message box, and what I wanted to show you next was how you can call a sub like this, a named sub, or you can call an anonymous method or a nameless subroutine. So let's go ahead and comment out this AddHandler and add a new one with a nameless sub in it, and we'll just say AddHandler color changed. And here we'll just create a new sub, and this sub is just going to say message box and I want to capture the color name that was changed, similar to what we were doing on our main form. So I'm just going to say color.toString. Alright, so it's happy with having a sub that is not even being referenced here. You could delete that and it will automatically execute this statement. Draw our object, test event, color chartreuse. So our new event is being handled properly, but again we didn't change it. We didn't because we're no longer calling this draw here. So we can't, to my knowledge, you can't add two expressions to a nameless sub in this manner. So what we can also do is create a little bigger one here. We can say dim my sub equals sub and sort of create an extended anonymous method here, and we can take this guy, our message box, throw it down here, and then directly call our draw method. So now we can just get rid of this and say my sub. Oops, I must have accidentally messed up my sub there. Okay, so let's see if this works here. And it works good. So what I've showed you here is how to raise an object from your main form, raise an event, sorry, or reference the the event from within the class that it was created. So with this, we can do some other neat things. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this message box here. And what we'll do is something a little more dynamic. Just for fun, let's jump onto our main form here and let's add a text box. Let's see. Just going to add that right up here. And I'm going to change the name of my text box to txt color. Okay, now if we jump into that by double clicking on it, it's going to generate a text change event for that object. I don't really want that. I want to be able to type in a color's name and have it automatically change when I hit the enter key. So I'm going to find the keydown event for the text box. You can just get rid of that other one. And from here, I want to capture the text box event for the key code. So I'm going to say if e.keycode equals keys.enter, then execute this. I'm going to use a try catch because chances are, you know, we could enter a color that doesn't exist, or you know, and it'll throw an exception or a message, but we want to sort of ignore it if it's not a color that it recognizes rather than crashing. So I'm just going to say do nothing for the catch. Otherwise, what we will do is say cool object excuse me, dot color equals color dot from name, and if for some reason you can't get the from name here, you can just add the system.drawing, but I don't think you should have to do that. So try to add it from the name, and the name that we want to capture is from our text box, txtcolor.text. So if this works, we should be able to type in a color name in our text box, hit the enter button, and it should change the color. and it should raise our events because we're changing the color here. So let's give it a try. I'm going to draw my object, and then I'm going to type in red, and look at that. It changed just fine. If we type in a color that doesn't exist, it just ignores the error. So blue, green, it's pretty cool. So our event is, all of our events are being raised here. We could additionally, you can execute the events from both sides. I see you like the color green, so it's returning properly. So in a nutshell, that's how you can create custom events for your application. Another cool thing that we could do is use a color translator. Some people might want to capture an HTML color. So what we could do is comment this guy out and say cool object dot color equals color translator dot from HTML. And again, we'll just pull that from our text box. So it still recognizes the color names on it, but we should be able to do like HTML colors. See how that works? Pretty slick. Get rid of that annoying message. So it wants that hashtag or pound sign, but it does recognize the HTML color format. Pretty cool stuff. So that is how you can create events for your application. So there are, as you've seen, there are different ways that you can handle your events. Try this. There you go. Pretty neat stuff. I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you. Let me know what you have to say on the subject. I'd be happy to answer any questions I can if I'm able. Give me the old thumbs up if you liked it, or I guess the thumbs down if you hated it. I appreciate you checking it out. I hope this is helpful. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.